Hey guys, welcome back to My Table of Three. My name is Keri. This is my husband Anthony, and today we are going to start with our first Money Monday video. So welcome to that. We hope you stick around to see what we talk about today. And speaking of what we're going to talk about today, we are going to talk about basically what got us to the point in our lives that we knew we had to establish a family budget and establish it pretty quickly, right? So Anthony's going to do most of the talking today. He's going to explain because he is the mastermind behind our budget, and so I'm going to just hand the video over to him.
Well, we talked about what we were going to need to discuss, and we basically concluded, like you said, that we were going to talk about the establishment of why we decided to do a budget. But in order to do that, I felt like we needed to kind of bring in some perspective about where you and I both came from. When we got married, I'm sure everybody's like this, there's always there's that transition where you go from having nobody to answer to and then having to learn to live together and merge two ideas. And that's kind of, that's where we were too. You were working for Walmart, and you had a steady income, and I had my magazine, which was doing well, but I have been up and down in my situation. So I knew that when money was good, it was time to put it up, put it aside, put it in the bank, save for a rainy day. And I had family members like my grandma that she always taught me that too. But your situation was different since you had money coming in every 2 weeks, from your regular job. I think your position, your perspective was more standard, was more like what most people think of. Right. And that's kind of why I wanted to bring these two ideas out, is because you kind of you represent the majority of people who have a steady income. They bring in a weekly check or every 2 weeks or once a month or whatever, right. And they've never had any real struggles. Where I've come from a point in my life where, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's really bad. Sometimes, I didn't know where my next meal was coming from.
Being self-employed.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And, I always thought, well, if you needed to, you can always fall back on certain people. But, I tried to fall back on some of those places and they weren't there. So I remember going through that experience, and we've talked about this, so this is all old hash to you. But for the viewers, it's new. The thought that went through my mind when I tried to fall back on one of those thoughts that I, if I ever get to the point where I'm about to lose everything, then I can always go to, and they will be right there for me. And I went there, and they said, "Sorry, we're not here for you." And I said, "Oh crap, now what?" And I remember, leaving there about to cry and thinking, nobody cares. If I can't get help from where I thought I could get it from in my most desperate time, then no one else is going to help me.
And about how old were you then?
How old?
Yeah, do you remember about?
I want to say I was in my mid-20s.
And you were just starting to get the magazine off the ground, or just
no,
before?
I was doing videos. I was doing my own TV commercials. I'd started that business.
Okay. And
it wasn't working out for me at that point, and I was at a position in my life where I thought, well, crap, I got to give this up. I got to go get a full-time job. And I went to family and I said, hey, I'm about to lose everything. Can I stay with you for a little while? And they said no. And like I said, I walked out of there thinking, well, crap, nobody cares then. And I thought to myself, if nobody else cares, I have to care. I have to care for myself. I have to care for myself enough that I got to make it from there. But anyway, and even before that experience, I had learned the value of being able to put money aside so that when you needed it, it would be there. And so, but anyway, that's, like I said, that's where your perspective was and my perspective was. And so when we got married, money was pretty good. You were, I think you were still working, and the magazine was doing well, and we were doing pretty good. So, newly married couple, it was real fun to go do stuff and have a good time. And
maybe we should also talk about our age when we got married too, because I think that has something to do with learning to live with each other and come together?
We're 4 years apart.
Yeah, well, I mean, we got
oh,
married
oh.
later in life. So I was 31 when I met Anthony, and we got married. Well, I was 30 when I met Anthony. We got married when I was 31, and he was 34. Yeah, 35. Sorry. So I only say that because we both lived alone, single lives, only depending on ourselves, bringing in money for quite some time. And sometimes that's just a reference or preference.
Sure.
To what we're going to talk about in a little bit. So we got married later in life, I guess,
Right.
based on the average. Yeah.
Right. And so, a lot of people don't really start on a budget until they hit hit the bottom. Now, I mentioned that before that I hit rock bottom, there was a time in my life where I decided to live on a budget. We don't really talk much about this, but this was when I was still working at the radio station and making $3.50 an hour.
You guys remember those days?
Actually, that was still below minimum wage, even then.
Yeah.
But I drove a car that was breaking down every other week, it seemed like, and so I needed a new vehicle. And so what I decided to do was I'm going to save. And my friends, after church every Sunday, they were going to eat out and do all these things, and I decided I can't do that anymore. I can't spend this money. I put myself on a very strict budget, and I was able to save enough money that I was able to get a almost brand new pickup. But anyway, that's
total opposite of what I was living at that time.
Right. So we hit, well, we wouldn't call it rock bottom, but we hit really close to the bottom. So we start out making good. She's doing good. I'm doing good. Everything seems like we're having a great time. We're spending money, and we buy this house.
And I got laid off.
Yeah,
from Walmart.
She got laid off, and then the magazine started going down. So we started running into real big problems, and
just money going out faster than it was coming in.
Right.
Yeah.
Money going out faster than coming in, and we were about to lose stuff.
Lose a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Because we couldn't keep it going, and that's when Keri decided. I remember I got up one night sitting right here where you're watching.
Like right here.
Right here.
Yeah.
And she came in to check on me and said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I don't know how we're going to make it." I said, "We're going to need to sell everything that we don't have to have."
Everything that's not nailed down.
Right.
We were thinking about having to sell, which was devastating.
And that's when you said,
"I'll get a job."
Yeah. And so you got a job, and that worked out pretty good. That was seasonal though, but
that was a blessing. Through this, we'll talk about how many times the Lord has blessed us throughout the videos.
Sure,
yeah,
sure, absolutely.
Yeah, because that was like on a Tuesday night, I think, and the next day I started looking for jobs, and by Thursday I had an interview with a call center just in the town over.
So you got that job that got us back out.
Right.
We were doing pretty good at that point. Seasonal job went away, and we started going downhill again.
Right. Couldn't keep up again.
So then you got another job.
I did. I went to work for one of Anthony's clients.
Yeah, at a real estate.
At a real estate office, and I was there.
Yeah, and then
part-time.
Right, and that was keeping us. We were
afloat.
doing all right. We weren't putting anything back, but we were doing all right.
Yeah, we weren't behind anymore. Yeah.
We were scraping by, but we were getting there. And then that's when you got this job at Hilton. Right.
So we did have one major financial blow that came.
Oh, yes.
That was truly another defining moment.
Yes.
While I was working at the real estate office, we were, like Anthony said, we weren't about to lose everything. The house was we were up on things, but we weren't making any headway savings or getting ahead. And then we had a financial tax blow. It's taxes, basically. Because being self-employed, that's a huge issue. Maybe we'll talk about that sometime. But we had a huge tax payment that had to be paid by a deadline.
Right.
And we didn't know. We had enough to pay our bills, but we knew something was going to have to sacrifice.
Right.
Where were we going to get it? Yeah.
Right. And I'm grateful that I had a family member that year for my birthday gave me about $500.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking to myself, I've got $500. What are we going to do with it?
Yeah.
We've got all these things we need. What do we need the most? And I sat there and thought, well, what we need the most is money in the bank.
Right.
And so that's what we did with it. We kept it. We held on to it.
Put it in the bank. So at that time we had that $500 in the bank.
Right.
We wondered how we were going to pay that, because it wasn't just like you're going to be late on this. It was like you had to pay this or else.
Yeah.
Basically, or else. So
lose a bunch of stuff.
Or lose a bunch of stuff. So we knew that could not happen. So we had the blessing of the family help. And at that time I had been blogging for several years and had started making some money. So we had to take that full blog check that month, put it with that money that he had been blessed with for his birthday.
And we had other family that helped us out.
Yes, and we had another family member that graciously helped us as well. So we are forever grateful for that and hope to return that favor, that blessing sometime. So we got that huge overcome, and I did get the job at Hilton. I went from part-time office manager or secretary at the real estate office to full-time at Hilton, which is basically a call center where you work from home. So saved money on gas, didn't have to worry about wardrobe, new clothes to go to work. I could still stay home. So that full-time check every 2 weeks really helped us pay the bills, and then the blog money that we were living off of, we got to start banking that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and the whole reason we're coming close to the end of this conversation, but the whole reason for our conversation about a budget is that no matter who you are, no matter where you're at in life, no matter how much money you have, tough times are coming.
Right.
And I don't know that I'm necessarily talking about political times or tough times nationally, but tough times in everybody's life.
Right.
Everybody has tough times.
Right, ups and downs. I think that's totally normal for married couple, any married couple, any family. So yeah, I wish we had got on board with each other earlier in our marriage. Yes. But we did butt heads there, mainly me, because I wasn't used to the ups and downs. Growing up, we were not rich, so my mom and dad took care of all that financially, and we had times where we scraped by too, I'm sure, but they never really communicated that with us. And then my dad always told me to save, but unfortunately, like many young people, I did not heed that. So I was making good money, and I was spending good money, and made some mistakes there. I wish I had saved that, but we worked through some stuff and got on board with each other. Maybe we'll talk about how to work with one another when you don't see eye to eye. Maybe that'll be a future video, because we want to keep these pretty short. And then, so next week is part 2 of this video of how we got started. And I think Anthony's going to talk about how he actually started setting up our budget. Do you think?
Okay.
So next week we'll talk about that, and then we'll start taking it a little bit at a time. After Anthony describes how we set our budget up, I'll talk to you more about the parts that I was responsible for, like gifts, birthdays, Christmas, grocery budget, which is a huge part of my responsibility. So yeah, so that's the first part 1 of our why we needed the budget, how we got here. I hope you guys enjoyed just this brief breakdown. Next week we'll be sharing part 2 of how Anthony went week by week and set out what we need to save, where we need to put our money. So I hope you look forward to that. Thank you, Anthony, for talking about that. If you have any questions, we'd love to hear them in the comments below. We'll answer what we can. If you have any topics on budget that you'd like us to talk about as we go along, let us know that too, because we're still learning. This is our first videos together, and we're not budget experts.
Right. And we'd love to hear what your experiences were. And also be sure to join our Stuff Mart USA community group
in the link below.
In the link below.
Yeah, so we will share more stuff there than we do on our Facebook and our Instagram channels, which you can follow us there at My Table of 3 on both of those. But with our group, maybe we can share more tips, in-depth tips, and hope to have a conversation with you there. So until next time, which is Wednesday, we did not get to film our Wellness Wednesday. Well, we did film it.
But we had trouble.
But we had some encryption errors or something that happened, and we didn't get to. So we apologize about that. So you'll see that this coming Wednesday. And so until Wednesday, we hope you guys have a great week. Happy Monday.
You can. I was just going to wing it.
Okay.
Because to me it sounds more.
Okay.